The issue of religion in public life is certainly not a new one in America. People have been arguing about the role of religion since the founding of the Republic. But our next guest is concerned about what he sees as a rising Christian nationalist movement. Reverend Paul Brandeis Raushenbush is the president and CEO of a national group called the Interfaith Alliance, devoted to religious freedom. He'll be speaking on the topic Friday at House of Hope Presbyterian Church in St. Paul, and he'll be preaching there on Sunday as well. So, Reverend Raushenbush, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
I'm delighted to be with you.
We hear a lot about Christian nationalism. Your talk is titled Democracy, Not Theocracy, Confronting the Threat of Christian Nationalism. How do you define it?
Christian nationalism primarily is not a religious movement. It is a political movement. It is a quest for power using the trappings of religion to make the case that this is a Christian nation and that Christians have a particular right and dominion over the rest of the population. But I would say that it is antithetical to what the nation was founded to represent and also what the faith represents.
A little historical or theological perspective, or both, as someone who has studied this. And where are the roots of this?
We saw this come to really strong prevalence in the 1920s, the Ku Klux Klan that was very much against not only people of other faith traditions, but also Catholics, certainly Jews, and of course, African Americans. More recently, we saw it in the 50s when there was an attempt to insert God and Jesus into our Constitution. So it's always been this tension, especially in moments where there was a sense of fear and threat. And I think that that's really important, that this is a movement that is really grounded in fear. I want to extend a hand. I want to just invite people who may be tempted by this ideology to say, we do not need to fear what this nation is becoming, which is more diverse religiously, more diverse racially. And this is actually what America is meant to be. And frankly, I really want white conservative Christians to feel a full part of that tradition.
Here is, for me, constitutionally always the tricky thing when it comes to freedom of speech, when it comes to freedom of religion. And if I want that protection, I've got to extend that same protection to someone with whom I might not agree at all. So how do you actually balance that?
I think it's important to recognize that absolutely everyone has the right to believe what they believe. Where it stops is where that belief inspires action that is harmful. And so I believe in everyone has the right to believe what they want to believe, but we should also recognize that our beliefs can translate into actions, and actions can be either life-giving or life-taking away, and we have seen too much of life being taken away, unfortunately inspired by bad beliefs.
You're going to be preaching at House of Hope this Sunday after speaking there on Friday to congregants there who are presumably believing churchgoers, although maybe not everybody in the pews all agree with each other and might not all agree with everything you're saying. But what's your message to them about their role in all of this?
What I'm going to be preaching about is what congregations can do to inoculate America against rising Christian nationalism. And there's lots of things that congregations can do, including being civic spaces in a time when there's an attack on libraries, there's an attack on civic spaces. I think that churches and other forms of religious congregations should make sure that they are welcoming places where people can meet one another, know one another. But the primary message is that we need to be a place that holds the value of love as primary, and figuring out how to invite people who may be tempted by a fear of, that drives Christian nationalism to let go of that and become part of the greater circle of America.
Reverend Raushenbush, thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it.
It was great to be with you. Thank you so much.
Reverend Paul Brandeis Raushenbush is the president and CEO of the national group known as the Interfaith Alliance. He'll be speaking on the topic of Christian nationalism Friday at House of Hope Presbyterian Church in St. Paul and preaching there on Sunday.